Think 70 million years ago, the most dangerous thing in the water wasn't a shark. It was a mistake. You think of frogs as fragile, soft, passive creatures that sit on lily pads and catch flies. You are wrong. In the mud of Cretaceous Madagascar, something else wore the shape of an amphibian. Something with a skull 6 inches wide. Something with a bite force of 2,200 newtons. That number means nothing to you. Let me translate. A gray wolf bites at 400 newtons. A pit bull at 500. A 150-pound leopard maxes out at 1,100. Beelzebufo, the devil frog, doubled all of them. In a body that weighed 10 pounds. This was not a frog. This was a hydraulic compression system wrapped in armored skin. A biological vice designed to crush the spines of infant dinosaurs. But here is the problem. Beelzebufo was discovered in Madagascar. Its closest living relatives exist in South America. Between these two landmasses lies 5,000 miles of open ocean. A frog cannot survive saltwater. Its permeable skin absorbs salt until the cells rupture. It dies in hours. So how did this thing get here? The bones offer no answer. And for 14 years after their discovery in 1993, no one even asked the question. The fossils were labeled, filed, stored in a drawer and forgotten. The most violent predator of its era collecting dust in a museum basement. The bite force was the first warning. But the jaw was only half the equation. Because the real horror was not in the teeth. It was in what came before the bite. The tongue. You assume a frog's tongue is simple. A sticky flick. A reflex. Beelzebufo's tongue operated on different physics entirely. The tissue itself was 10 times softer than the human tongue. Softer than brain matter. It sounds fragile. It was not. The softness was the weapon. When the tongue struck prey at high speed, it deformed around the target like a biological shock absorber. It wrapped. It gripped. And then the saliva activated. Non-Newtonian fluid. At rest, it behaved as liquid 6 times stickier than honey. But on impact, under pressure, the molecular structure shifted. The fluid became solid. The prey was glued in place before it registered the attack. This was not a tongue. This was an adhesive harpoon, a brain-soft projectile coated in state-shifting polymer that solidified on contact. Liquid handcuffs fired from a mouth the size of a dinner plate. And then came the jaw. The skull of Beelzebufo was not bone as you understand it. It was hyperossified, a term that means the tissue calcified beyond normal limits. The result was a chassis of biological Kevlar. Scott's bony external plates covered the head like reactive tank armor. The entire structure was engineered for one function: compression. Picture the mechanism. The tongue fires. The saliva locks. The prey freezes. And then the jaw closes at 2,200 newtons of force. The equivalent of a wolf bite concentrated into a mouth designed for crushing, not tearing. Vertebrae snap. Ribcages collapse. The infant dinosaur stops moving. Zoom out. Picture a 10-pound amphibian in a world of 10-ton theropods. It had no right to survive. And yet, it did not just survive. It hunted. But we still have not answered the question. The jaw makes sense. The tongue makes sense. The impossible geography does not. How did a saltwater-intolerant predator cross 5,000 miles of ocean? It didn't swim. It walked. The presence of Beelzebufo in Madagascar is not a mystery. It is a map. 70 million years ago, a landmass connected South America to Africa through Antarctica. A frozen bridge of continental shelf that has since cracked apart and sunk beneath the ice. This creature's bones are evidence of a world that has been deleted. A pathway through the southern pole that no longer exists. Beelzebufo is not just a fossil. It is a ghost marker, proof of a planet we no longer recognize. So now we know what it was. We know what it did. We know how it arrived. What remains is the question of how it survived. Madagascar in the late Cretaceous was not a paradise. It was a pressure cooker. The dry season compressed the landscape. Rivers shrank to mud. Every surviving animal funneled toward the same diminishing pools. Water became a trap. The frogs that could not bury themselves deep enough cooked in the heat. The ones that could not hunt fast enough starved. If you touched a Beelzebufo, you would not feel skin. You would feel scuts. Body plates, rough as industrial sandpaper, cold as stone. The texture of something that evolved not for comfort, but for violence. The creature did not hear its prey approaching. It felt the vibrations through the ground. Through the mud. Through the water. Ultra-low frequency detection, a seismic surveillance grid wired into the skull. The footsteps of a juvenile dinosaur registered as a tremor in the earth. And there it waited. A 10-pound amphibian with the bite of a leopard. Surrounded by 10-ton titans. Patient. Buried. Still. For 10 million years, this design dominated. An ambush predator tuned to the rhythm of a world we cannot imagine. And then, 66 million years ago, a rock fell from the sky. The Chicxulub asteroid did not care about bite force. It did not recognize hyperossification. It struck the Yucatan Peninsula and erased 75% of all species on Earth. The perfect bone crusher, deleted by a random collision. Which raises a question that has nothing to do with frogs. We believe evolution follows a path of improvement. We believe the dominant species persists. We believe that biological perfection guarantees survival. Beelzebufo proves all three beliefs wrong. It was a disruption. A 10-pound anomaly that humiliated the hierarchy. A David that did not need a sling, just a bigger mouth. For 10 million years, it worked. And then it didn't. Not because of failure. Because of chance. And now consider its discovery. In 1993, someone pulled a fragment of bone from the Madagascar mud. They labeled it. Filed it. And then they forgot about it. For 14 years, the Lord of the Flies collected dust. The most violent predator of its era, invisible. Unremarkable. Just another fossil in a drawer. We did not recognize what we had. We filed a demon under miscellaneous. The creature that once crushed dinosaur spines was reduced to a catalog number in a basement archive. A reminder that the things we overlook are often the things that should disturb us the most. Beelzebufo is extinct. But evolution is not. It is still running. Still experimenting. Still building organisms we have not noticed yet. The same process that turned a harmless pond dweller into a dinosaur-eating weapon is active right now. In the mud. In the deep water. In the cracks of ecosystems we barely monitor. So the question is not what this creature was. The question is what is out there right now, sitting in the dark, waiting for something heavy enough to shake the ground.